got the NY Predator Department outside using their sirens, trying to intimidate. But it's not going to work. I will continue on my purpose. My purpose is to expose the evil that they have been committed, particularly in the black community. And tonight, you see the use of the Sambos. As you see, two of the Sambos, white racist officers in black skin, stood back and they sent the younger Sambo racist in black skin just to send me a message that, yeah, we control these young recruits. And then they hit me with the silent sound to let me know that the dark tribes, those who are in control of technology, control the police, even the black Sambos. They condition them psychologically in the police academy. Again, you guys can go and read Norm Stamper book called Breaking Bad. He talks about this, that black police officers are conditioned to view their own black brothers with the same criminal eyes and mind of the white racist officers. Okay? So I will not falter. They can show up at my apartment building. They can show up in front of my apartment door or even in the apartment. Okay? I will continue to expose them. And like I said, the only way you're going to silence me is if you put me in a box. And I mean that. And they know I mean that. So just because you think you microchip me illegally, non-consensual, without my consent, and you're not going to try to manufacture consent by trying to intimidate, harass, and scare me using fear-based trauma programming. It's no longer going to work the way you think it's going to work. Okay? So as I said, that the microchip, they will whistle outside. And so, this is why you see sometimes in my videos, see me whistling. All right, because this is one of the methods and tactics that they will use. And they've started using, but then I would say this year. Okay? So when you hear me whistle in my video, I'm responding to somebody's whistling as they walk past me or whenever they project the whistling sound around me. Okay? So let's talk about this. All right? Because again, like I told them, I want to have this fight. Let's go. Let's do it. But you will no longer be able to manipulate me in ways in which you can try to villainize me. Because once you understand as a TI what's going on, once you understand the technology, and again, they will lie and say these technologies don't exist. But I got the documents to say that they do. These are declassified documents based on Russian experimentation using radio microwave weapons. Okay? And they will lie. Go back to my videos when the American diplomats were hit with directed energy weapons. They lied. They lied. Even when the doctors who were doing the tests said that there's no way that these people can have these injuries, and it's not just cognitive injury, but psychological injury as well. And they lie, and they try to cover it up. This is why I said, and I'm going to say this, and whoever's watching, whether they're across the globe, and I know they shadow ban my video, right? Any country that Americans go to, particularly white Americans, and the black ones too, the Sambos, and you can tell who they are, right? Because they'll go to another country and think that they're better than the people there. And that country have every right to protect their citizens from these criminals. And I call them criminals because a lot of them go to other countries to engage in criminal activity. Okay? We here in the United States who are victims of non-consensual human experimentation did not commit any crime. And because they think we're poor, because they believe that we don't have a voice, that they can do this. And because of their religious belief system, that they think that they are more moral than anybody else. But when you look at their behavior, they're the least moral people. So yeah, I'm not railing against all white people or all of my people, just the religious fanatics, just those within the government and police agencies who have the dark triad personality traits. The cult leaders who embed themselves within law enforcement. And so we must push back. We must push back hard. Those of us who believe in the truth, because they don't believe in the truth. They believe that because they have a gun and a badge and wear uniform, that they can do whatever, or a suit, that they can do whatever they want to do to the least, so it says, to the most vulnerable in society. And I'm not having it. Okay, and you shouldn't either, as TIs. So let's talk about state-sanctioned violence. Okay? Because the United States love to pride itself on the world stage as being the beacon of hope and light in terms of human rights. And the United States would accuse other countries of using their law enforcement agencies to carry out extrajudicial punishment. Okay, so this is a report from, it's an article of a report from 2020. State-sanctioned violence. U.S. police failed to meet basic human rights standards. Now, I watched the video and see also the reason why they were using the black police officers tonight was because I posted something on Facebook. Okay, you had 2 black police officers. Okay, and you had a man in a wheelchair, and this man said, "Listen, I am in a wheelchair. I cannot walk." They wanted him to get out the car. He said, "Well, you have to help me out." As they were helping him out, and because he was heavy, they basically had this man on the ground. Had him sat on the ground. Why? But while he was telling them that, hey, I use a wheelchair, his wife was saying, can I get his wheelchair? They didn't hear that, though. They had no sense of humanity in their mind and in their heart. See, I want you to understand how these racists work within the FBI and the police department. Okay? And particularly within the police department, because they don't want to show these police officers in a bad light. See, they don't want police officers who can think. See, the good police officers are the ones who they will push out of the police department. The good officers are the ones who will see a fellow officer's violating the rights of a person and stop it. But they don't want that. Just as within the society you have mindless sheeps and in religion, yes, and I say it, you can feel slighted. I don't care. When they go around spreading their negative rumors and they go get people to lie on me, Do they care about how I feel? No. Like I said, my name is not Martin Luther King. I'm not going to turn the cheek. Okay? If I'm going to follow someone, it'll be Malcolm X, it'll be Dr. Khalid Muhammad. Okay? So, as I was saying, so they basically sat this man on the ground. And this man was like, are you really going to do this? Are you really going to do this? I mean, the video was so disgusting. And the anger. And you see, because of the fact that I have microchip, so whenever I get angry, they will use the police siren. They will always use the police siren to, try to squash that anger. But I don't pay attention to it because I know who I am, right? And I know that I'll get angry, but I can control my anger. Okay? And everybody gets angry. It's a human emotion. Like I said, don't deny your emotions because they're trying to subdue you and to control you, to keep you docile to the point where they can abuse you and continue to abuse you while conditioning you into silence. That will never happen with me. Like I said, you're going to either put me in a box, lock me away, throw away the keys. That's the only how you're going to silence me. Okay? All right. So, yeah. So I posted the video and I said, I hate these effing Sambo racist cops in black skin. I think that's what I said. And, it's appropriate. It's very appropriate. Because for me, what pisses me off is that you have these black officers that when they take off that uniform, and we've seen this, when they take off that uniform and they're in their civilian clothes, they too get harassed by these racist white police officers. When black officers are in civilian clothes, they have to be extra careful if they're in the vicinity of a crime being committed, that they can get shot by fellow police officers. Even black police officers in police uniform will take their lives. We've seen this. It's documented. Okay? But somehow, like I said, they tend to, because of their programming, they tend to not think about that. Until they get shot. Then it's like, oh, they shot me because I'm black. They shot me because but when you put on that uniform, you shoot another black person because they're black. Okay? We've seen white police officers take serial killers, mass murderers in handcuffs, bring them to Burger King or McDonald's, get them food to eat. They're very cushy with these killers of black people. Okay? So when I see these black Sambos, and I call them Sambos, they're not Uncle Tom. Do not disrespect the name of one of our greats. Okay, because what white people have done with the name Uncle Tom is to villainize that name. But as Dr. Claude Anderson said, Uncle Tom wasn't the one beating the slave. Uncle Tom was the one who put down the whip. The person who picked up the whip to beat the slave was Sambo. All right, so I got an echo going on here. And again, let me do this. Okay. Still echoing. It just started happening. But hey. This is what's happening, right? This is what they do. They'll find ways to, and I've seen a lot of YouTube channels, particularly black men and black women who speak the truth. All of a sudden, they start having issues with their stream, all this other stuff, So, like I said, I've been going through this for a long time. All right. So anyhow, yeah, they tend to forget that. So when they send a young Sambo in front of me and he flicks his flashlight in front of me, why do you think they do that? They've done that to me numerous times. Okay? It's psychological manipulation. And what will happen in the past is that I'll become so afraid that I don't want to leave the house. But I'm going to leave the house because guess what? I'm on my purpose. I'm going to record every interaction with these Sambos as well as the white racist cops. I'm not afraid of them. Okay? I'm not. All right? We have to expose this stuff. Because we're talking about a silent takeover in the United States. And my people, black people, are going to get caught flat-footed. And then they're going to be like, you know what? We should have listened. We should have listened. Don't be that person. Don't be that people. There's a history in this country of what they do to black people who they feel as a threat. They are destroying young black men and women in every generation. In every generation. Okay? And I'm one of those earlier generation that's part of the earlier generation that's been taking a stand and will continue to take a stand. In whatever little limited capacity that I can, I'm going to do it. I'm going to continue to do it. Okay? So, report find not one police department in the 20 largest American cities are compliant with international rights law. Now, one thing, like I said, I'm glad countries are now speaking up when the United States try to accuse them of civil rights violation of their citizens. And I'm not condoning it in those countries either. I'm not. Okay? But I'm glad that they too are pointing out the hypocrisy of how America treats its black citizens and black people that live here in the United States. Okay? Police in America, the biggest cities, are failing to meet even the most basic international human rights standard governing the use of lethal force. A new study from the University of Chicago has found. All right, let me see if I can try to fix this echoing. Okay, yes, okay. All right. Hopefully that works. Hopefully that works, and you guys can hear me properly. Okay. So, again, let's see. Researchers at the university, actually, I'm still getting a little bit of an echo here. Let's see. Drop that down a little bit. Okay, yeah, so police in America's biggest city are failing to meet even the most basic international human rights standard governing the use of lethal force. A new study from the University of Chicago has found. Researchers in the university's law school put the lethal use of force policies of police in the 20 largest cities under the microscope. They found not a single police department was operating under guidelines that are compliant with the minimum standard laid out under international human rights laws. Of course not. The police department across America are a federally authorized gang of criminals masquerading as law enforcement. How many times have we seen on videos police officers frame black people? How many times have we seen police officers brutalize men and women who are exercising their constitutional rights? They hate informed citizens. They hate citizens who know their rights. They are egotistical, narcissistic, psychopathic in their interaction, specifically with black men, even the ones that look like me. Okay? They will use the psychiatric in the facilities to institutionalize anyone they deem a threat, even their own fellow officers who blow the whistle on department corruption. Again, see, I know what I'm talking about. This is why you see them engaging in the type of behavior that you see them engaging with me. Because the more I expose them, the more people will look at things and think and say to themselves, what's really going on here? Okay, and they don't want people to think, just like the high ups don't want police officers who think. Most of these police officers don't even know the laws themselves. And you have citizens who know more about the law they're supposed to uphold than they do. And they hate that. Listen, go on YouTube if you don't believe me. You watch a video where you have a 15-year-old kid, again, it's a white kid now, couldn't be a black kid, right? That black kid would have been so brutalized, it wouldn't even be funny, right? Telling the police officers to shut the F up. Young white teenager. So you see, when I show you videos of when I'm outside with the Sambos and Sambinas, these are the female Sambos, and engaging in this kind of behavior. Yeah, I want the world to see how America has conditioned its black people or citizens, and black people live in the United States, with the utmost control. Okay? Among the failing identified by the law scholars, some police forces violate the requirement that lethal force should only be wielded when facing an immediate threat and as a last resort. Some departments allow deadly response in cases of escaping suspect, fugitive, or prevention of crime. All scenarios that would be deemed to fall well out of the boundaries set by international law. It's funny how the United States want other countries to abide by international law, but they themselves refuse to do so. And, people may say, Nigel, you talk about the U.S., you live in the U.S., what have you. Listen, I love the U.S. I've been here since I was 10 years old. I don't know anywhere else, okay? Not even my own country that I was born in. I'm more American than some Americans that are born here. Okay? And because I understand the relationship between those of us from the Caribbean and our brothers and sisters that were born here and descendants of Africans who were enslaved here. And if you go and you do your research, you will see that some of the most influential people were black people, I should say, were not born here. Arthur Schomburg, Marcus Garvey, who else? Sidney Poitier. Who else? Um, shoot, I'm forgetting his name. I don't even know how I could forget his name. Um, hmm, wow, I can't believe I'm forgetting his name. Anyhow, um, look, it'll come back to me. You know, I'm gonna just get it out of my mind for now. Hopefully, it'll come back, right? And when you look at music, hip hop music, right? Which was started, by a Jamaican. Um, and I forgot his name. Yeah. Anyhow, but you can Cool Hurt. Is it Cool Hurt? I'm not sure, but it might be Cool Hurt. Jamaican. Okay. So I know that, and I listen, when you understand history, particularly as a black person, you understand that, you know, a lot of times when the slave ship before reaching North America, they landed in the Caribbean. Families were separated. So don't think because, you know, you might come from a country outside the United States that you're not connected to black Americans. We are all connected. I've, like I always say, we are all connected. Slavery has separated so many of our family that if you were to do a DNA test on every black person in America, the Caribbean, uh, in the West, you would be surprised of how many family you didn't know about. Okay. Anyhow, let me move on before I get lost in the in my offside rant. All right. So in other cities, police guidelines fail to constrain officer to use only as much force as is proportionate to the threat confronting them. Remarkably, the researchers of the law school's International Human Rights Clinic discovered that none of the 20 police departments were operating under the state law that were in accord with human rights standards. America's biggest police task force, legality, America's biggest police force lacks legality, the studies find, because they are not answerable to human rights complaint law authorizing the use of lethal force. The fact that police force in the U.S. biggest cities don't meet very basic human rights standards is deeply concerning, said Claudia Flores, the clinic director. The Chicago study underlines how far policing in America is drifting from international norm, making the U.S. a lonely outlier on the world stage. Across Europe, policing policies are much more closely aligned with human rights directive. But not only here in the United States, but lately, police officers in Canada, white police officers in Canada, have been targeting black men. Okay? So it's not just here in the United States, but also in Canada. These white racists on the police force feel that they are losing their country, they are losing their power, they are losing their ability to do whatever they want to do to black and brown people. See, because when they assault you, frame you, you're not supposed to question that. This is why they have, for the past 4 decades, removed black leadership, particularly black male leadership within the black community. Something that we as a people don't want to even recognize or think about. This is why we have such dysfunctional behavior and dysfunctional thinking, particularly with young people and particularly with our women. Okay? So, the FBI war on Black America. Again, I got to bring this up time and time again because it seemed that we do not learn our lesson. At least if we do, it's not the majority of us. Okay? And listen, I am thankful that you have brothers and sisters who understand what's going on, who speak up, who are doing things that I may not even know, or you and I may not even know. And not just black people, but also white people, also Asian people, Hispanic people. Okay? Asian people. I keep saying, and you look at the mindset of white people in America and how they interact with black people, it is of a psychopathic and sociopathic relationship. They have made themselves to be our predators. They're not naturally our predators. They have made themselves to be our predators, particularly the predators of young black men. And these are primarily those on the police force. And then comes the Sambos, who look like me, but who will brutalize you worse than the white racists. And particularly when they have a religious indoctrinated mindset, okay, that they think that because they're religious and being police officers, that they are God's instrument to dole out his justice. And I always say, when they're out of uniform in civilian clothing, I want them to think about that when these white racist cops beat their ass or shoot them. I want them to understand that those white racists on the police force also think, who are also Christian, also think that they're put in that position to dole out their God's justice. See, because they don't think, that indoctrination at the police academy totally remove all sensible thinking. And it's not all police officers, but it's the majority, the vast majority. Okay? It's just a few good apple in the barrel. And sooner or later, all the apples are going to spoil, are going to be rotten, unless you start removing the bad apples and hire or pick new apples that are good. Okay, so the FBI war on Black America. I think this is the talking about the video. Well, we can watch the video. I guess we can do that. But let me just read this. So, the FBI War on Black America is a documentary exploration on the lives and death of people targeted by the U.S. government COINTELPRO program, which never ended, by the way. They just create a new program using the same tactics, right? Using different methods and also different tactics. So an FBI-launched program aimed against organized effort by African Americans to gain rights guaranteed by our Constitution, including both archive footage and contemporary interviews with people involved in the movement. All right? So, like I said, even recently, a few years ago, you had a young black man who, he was with a bunch of lawyers. Somehow his name turned up on the FBI watch list, and the police were harassing him daily. Okay. Again, I'm going to say copyright Fair Use Act of 1976, as I have it up here on the upper right hand corner. And that part here, this is why the attack is
This country has never cared about black people.
That's right.
They don't give two damns about us. And all of us always turn around worrying about what's good for America, what's good later for America, what's good for black people.
Now, know what they're going to say, not guilty? Because no one saw them pull the trigger? I'm tired of that. Don't bow down anymore. Hold your heads up. We want our freedom now. I don't want to have to go to another memorial. I'm tired of funerals. Tired of it. Got to stand up.
We must also realize that the problems of racial injustice and economic injustice cannot be solved without a radical redistribution of political and economic power.
If you can't do for yourself
So
what the white man...
let me pause this, because this is what they'll do. If I'm watching a video and they talk about reparations, they will use police sirens. If I'm watching a video that deals with Black history or African history, particularly videos with Dr. Clark, Dr. Yusuf Benjamin, Francis Cress Wilson, Dr. Asa Hilliard, all of the Black scholars, right? Every time I'm playing these videos, they will be outside using the police sirens. Okay? And again, like I said, I know what it is that they have been doing. And, you know, hopefully there are a lot of us who understand what they've been doing. But we, you know, like I said, I just refuse to be controlled by these people. You will not control me. Okay? I will never be a gatekeeper. You know, and I've talked about how they would count, you know, stacks of money in front of me to try to silence me. And I won't do it. I'm not a Sambo. I'm sorry. I'm not a gatekeeper. See, I'm one of those who believe that if I make it, other Black people have to make it too. Unlike our Black elites who turn their back on the rest of us because they too have been manipulated, set up, controlled. So they will give you, you know, they will elevate you within the society as long as they can use you as a tool, as a prop, to trick you into thinking that, yeah, you can make it too. You may be able to make it, but the minute you turn around to help your people, they will destroy you. Look at the history. You know, they're saying the more things change, the more things remain the same. Don't let the fact that we're living in modern times fool you, because things are still the same.
is doing for himself, don't say you're equal with the white man. That's right. If you can't set up a factory like he sets up a factory, don't talk that old equality talk.
Depression, depression, yeah, lay off hunger and poverty, stricken everywhere. So much killing, stealing, and dying going on. The man started saying, I ain't did no wrong, taking out the leaders, one by one, take away my livelihood, making me run.
black leader with charisma was a target of the government's COINTELPRO program. And that's stated in their own objectives of the program.
Who are you? You don't know. Don't tell me Negro, that's nothing. What were you before the white man named you a Negro? And where were you? And what did you have? What was yours? What language did you speak then? What was your name? It couldn't have been Smith or Jones or Bunch or Powell. That wasn't your name. They don't have those kind of names where you and I came from. No, what was your name? And why don't you now know what your name was then? Where did it go? Where did you lose it? Who took it? And how did he take it? What tongue did you speak? How did the man take your tongue? Where is your history? How did the man wipe out your history? How did the man?
No, they didn't wipe out our history. They hid it. They co-opted it. Okay? Our history is still there. Okay? Our scholars, after the civil rights movement, have done painstaking work to give us back our history. But what happened? The FBI wore on the black bookstores. The FBI wore on black scholars, particularly at the university level. So they will again destroy those amongst us who know the truth, who want to teach us the truth, who want us to know the truth, who want us to know our history. You know, the great Dr. John Henry Clarke always talk about, you know, black people were the creators of civilization. Every civilization came after us. So how is it they can claim, against a claim, that the Arabs' civilization is older than black people's civilization, when it was black people that populated those lands? You look at the Assyrians. The Assyrians are original inhabitants of that land. People of Assyria were black people. Right? But because they hide these things from us. But with the internet, and particularly within the past 2 decades, there have been those who have been putting the truth out there. And so a lot of these social media platform is to distract us from learning the truth. And these social media platforms are also being used to psychologically manipulate us, like Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Ask yourself, why is TikTok so popular? Right? Why? Why do we have an insatiable appetite for TikTok videos? Some of it is funny, some of it is entertainment. But because you see, even the Chinese know, because of the Western programming of our mind, our attention span, and also because of the use of, again, directed energy weapons for mind control, silent sound, spread spectrum. I know they hate it when I say that because, you know, every time I say that, they'll start using the police sirens. But silent sound, spread spectrum. These things are not new. They were developed these things in the 60s. Dr. Jose Delgado, Dr. Robert Heath, two of the most notorious, wicked, evil scientists that America has ever, America and Spain has ever produced, right? I mean, come on. You know, somebody on Facebook told me that I wasn't woke, you know, because, you know, these Negropeans and their religious indoctrinated mind, you know, these so-called Hebrew Israelites, without even understanding where their belief come from. And after I'll say, hey, go and read the history of Egypt by Menethos. Okay, it's particularly the part of the Hyksos invasion. It's right there. It's clear as day. Okay?
To make you as dumb as you are right now.
To kill the brother because he had began to take meaningful steps towards gaining the freedom for his people. He was taking steps to internationalize the black man's struggle and to take it to the United Nations, to take it diplomatically to the other countries around the world so that...
And that is what black people should do in America. We need to organize, get lawyers to bring the United States in front of the United Nations. Okay, even the UN own research finding states that America has continued to brutalize black people in the United States. Even the UN. You can find the report. And you tell me that there is no black leaders to even say, you know what? In our fight for reparation, we need to take this to the UN. Malcolm X gave you the blueprint. He laid the groundwork.
Meaningful pressure could be brought to bear on the United States government and to force them to let his people go.
We can't prove for sure that the FBI COINTELPRO or an agent of the FBI actually killed Malcolm X. They were certainly trying to reach that end. They were...
Well, we know now that the FBI was involved in the murder of Malcolm X. We know how they sowed the seed within the Nation of Islam. Okay? We know that. I mean, you see, when I became targeted, the one thing I decided is like, I'm not waiting till I am 80 or 90 years old for the declassification of this program to target me. I said, no, hey, listen, I have a computer in the palm of my hand. When I began recording my targeting, they wasn't advanced as they are now. But the one thing having a computer in the palm of my hand with a camera has taught me is just how much, right? Just how much intelligence that goes into programs like this today. How when I have a phone that has a certain megapixel camera, how the police used to stay at a distance to target and harass me. But the one thing they didn't count on was me in terms of seeing what they were doing and literally walking up to them. I would walk a whole block if I had to put them on camera or to record them. Right? They didn't count on that. They didn't count on me studying what they were doing as they continued to spread their rumors, spread their propaganda. They continued to hit me with directed energy weapons. Had me on the remote node monitoring to where I had massive headaches, where I had to drop out of college because, when I began to get good grades, they were attacking me even more fiercely. And I remember that night when my headaches were so bad. I mean, every couple seconds, it was like small little explosion, painful, going off. And I never wanted to feel that again. And recently they've been trying to get me to go back to school. Why? Because the lies and the deception that what they've done didn't cause me permanent damage. That my memory is still intact. And it's not. And they know this. They know this. But they'll continue to, again, try to escape accountability for the damage that they've done to me. This is why when I can't remember things, I'll hear police sirens. As if they think that this is going to make me remember things. You know, and I have the medical documentation to show it. Documentation that they were trying to prevent me from obtaining. The injury to my back after being hit with what is called acoustical vibrational weapons. Lower half of my body vibrating violently that caused my back injury. All right. So they are using technology now to manipulate us, particularly when we're young, and particularly when you see today how young people are behaving, the conditioning, and no one, well, I shouldn't say no one, but there isn't any black organization, particularly in the field of psychology and psychiatry, to take a look at what's going on, study it, and develop programs to reverse that programming. But it is hard because, again, when you see, we used to be a very technically advanced people, a very scientifically advanced people. But now they have made us entertainers, athletes, and then keep us out of the technology field so that we won't know what's going on. Okay? So just a little side note. You know, it doesn't have to do with, well, it does have to do with this and show how they're targeting us on a much more broader scale, using technology, using psychology in ways through social media that most of us don't pick up on. Also, let me say this. If you go on social media and you'll see particularly women, young and old, constantly sticking their tongue out. I'm not sure if anybody else is picking up on this, right? But what they've done is, and within the past 2 decades, the increase in black people, particularly young black women identifying as lesbian and bisexual, is on the rise. And it will continue to rise. And also young black men identifying as bisexual. Where white young men and women are not identifying as gay and bisexual, lesbian, trans, as much as what the media shows you. And we know they use media to manipulate and to create lies and to make you believe in falsehood or the falsity of what is really happening. But the numbers shows it because they do research on this, and you can go look it up. The people who are most likely to identify as gay, bisexual, and transgender are black men and women,
articulating that
young or
goal,
old.
and they were taking steps in furtherance of that, trying to cause the exact same thing to happen which happened. So we can step back from it and say, regardless of their success, whether they were the ones who pulled the trigger, this gives us an idea of what their intent was, what they were willing to do, what their political viewpoint was, and what ends and what unconstitutional and violent ends they were willing to adopt and use in order to reach their goal, which was to destroy progressive movements.
Today I want to say to the people of America and the nations of the world that we are not about to turn around. Yes, sir. We are on the move now. Yes, sir. Yes, we're on the move, and no wave of racism can stop us. Yes, sir. The burning of our churches will not deter us. The bombing
See, the black churches in the 50s and 60s, though, again, highly Christianized, but they stood up against this stuff. Okay, you had the deacon of defense. These were black pastors who carry guns to protect their community. See, we tend to not give white people their props on being the most vile, wicked, particularly white men. And again, not all. Okay? Not all. Group of people on the planet. When all he has to do is just look at the reality. Look at the facts. Like I said, it's not all. When I was younger, the companies that I worked for were all owned by white men and white women. Okay? And they hired me. But what I did notice is the way how they treated the black employees compared to the white employees. The discrepancy in pay. The holding the job over the black employee's head while the white employees would leave on time and the black employees would have to stay and work, you know, sometimes all through the night. And not to say it wasn't white employees that would do that, but when you're making twice and three times as much as the black employees, I mean, yeah, once in a while, if you work late or you work a weekend, you know, you take it home good pay. Whereas the black employees, you know, yeah, you may, you know, and at the time you're young, you think you're making good money, but it's not compared to what white people make. Just look at the increase in the gap in the wealth, right? What is called the wealth gap. All you got to do is look at that number. Just look at it. Look at the discrepancy. And yet, you know, we have not adopted a black economic first mentality. Okay? And why is that? These are questions that we need to think about, we need to ponder about, and understand that the war is not just about being in your face. It's about the chemicals. It's about the energy. It's about the water, the poisoning of black towns and black cities with lead in the water to dumb down our intelligence. And just heard the police sirens that was talking about that, the lead in the water. How many of us when we were younger understand, well, we didn't understand it back then, but now that we're older, you need to stop and think and said, hey, was the water that I was drinking safe as a child? Okay, you need to, you know, here in New York, you know, they had like the special ed programs. You know, the city, the white politician would blame the mothers on crack. That wasn't it. These children were being poisoned with lead in the public housing sector. This stuff goes back way, way back. But we don't seem to think about that. The damage that lead causes a child is irreversible. That even when in adulthood, and you could be a functioning adult, but guess what? You're less intelligent, you're more emotional, right? We don't think about these things. The reason why black men die the youngest in this country isn't just based on stress. How many black people you know, and we see, are dying from cancer all of a sudden within the past decade? These are things that we need to look at, and we need experts in those fields who are black, who love us enough to say, I need to take a look at this. We need to take a look at this. There's something is not right here. Something is going on. Okay? But they can get you to participate in targeting one of your own. They can do that, though.
Our homes will not dissuade us. Yes, sir. The beating and killing of our clergymen and young people will not divert us. Yes, sir. The wanton release of their known murderers will not discourage us. We're on the move now. Yes, sir.
I'm going to pause the video here. I'm going to end it here. Because, again, Martin Luther King, even though I keep saying that I'm not Martin Luther King, I'm not going to turn the other cheek. But the man Martin Luther King was becoming after realizing what was really going on, that it was about the economics as well as the civil rights. And it was when he started talking about reparation is when they killed him. And we see today the pushback for reparations for Black Americans of descendants of slavery. But the U.S. have no problem giving billions of dollars of aid to Ukraine. They have no problem loading $6 or $10 billion on an airplane and watch it disappear. They have no problem paying $6,000 for a toilet seat. They have no problem with those things. But they do have a problem with giving Black Americans of who are descendants of enslaved people reparations. But these are the people who we love, right? These are the people who we put into political office, even the ones that look like us, who don't do nothing for us. We love them, right? But the man, the black man or the black woman in your neighborhood trying to teach you the truth, you call them crazy. Oh, he's on that black-ish again. That is how much they program you to hate yourself. And you don't even realize it. You don't even realize it. Anyhow. So yeah, just wanted to do this video again. Like I said, I am not going to sit back and allow them to violate my rights, your rights. I'm not going to allow them to think that they can experiment on me or anybody else for whatever reason. Because if you pride yourself to be a country that operates on the rule of law, why do you not operate on the rule of law in reality? Why is it that you create laws and then disregard those laws because you have a gun and a badge or you're in a position of authority? You don't get to not be held accountable because you're in those positions. Those same law that you want applied to everybody else also apply to you. And to think that you can try to set people up, manipulate them, and try to use them against their very own people, you got a lot of nerve. I was going to say balls, but you don't have no balls. You got a lot of nerve. Like I said, never will I ever be a gatekeeper. If I have to be poor the rest of my life, I'll be poor the rest of my life. But you will never get to say you can you use me to keep my brothers and sisters down. Never happen. All right. That being said, I will speak to you guys in the next video.